Hello and welcome back to Pure Peptides. Today I'm going to show you something that most people buying research peptides online never check. And honestly, some sellers are counting on that. This is a certificate of analysis. It's the document that's supposed to prove the product you've just bought is legitimate and pure and actually what it claims to be. But here's the problem. A lot of what's being passed off as a COA online is either recycled, unverifiable, or in some cases, completely fabricated. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what a proper COA looks like, what the red flags are, and how to make sure you're not being taken for a ride. The research peptide space has exploded in the last couple of years, and with that has come a flood of new websites who they don't have any real quality infrastructure in place, and they're selling products at really low prices without the documentation attached. And here's what some of them are doing. They're taking a COA from a previous batch, sometimes from a completely different batch, and they're reusing it across multiple products or multiple batches. The document looks official. It has a lab name on it, but it has nothing to do with what's actually in the vial that you have just received. Others are listing a lab name that sounds credible, but either doesn't exist or has no record of testing that product. And because most buyers don't know what they're looking at, it works. The main test on a COA is called the HPLC, High Performance Liquid Chromatography. And in simple terms, it is a machine that separates everything in the sample to identify what's in it and how much of it. A legitimate HPLC result will show you a purity percentage, how much of the sample is actually the peptide that you ordered. Anything above 98% is what you're looking for, and reputable suppliers won't go below that. But you will see out there on some of the websites results from a HPLC test that are showing 85% purity, 87% purity, and sometimes even lower. And that is not okay, because that means that up to 15% of what's in that vial is something else. And in the research context, that's huge. And it's really important to look at the purity level in the certificate of analysis. Some other companies, they won't even show you a purity percentage at all. They might just show you a graph. It looks technical, but it doesn't tell you anything. Because without the numbers, all it is a graphic. There's another number on the HPLC test that's really important to look at, and that is the retention time. And this is how long it took the peptide to go through the machine. Every peptide has a known predictable value for this. It's like a molecular fingerprint. If the retention time on your COA doesn't match the known reference value for that peptide, what you have may not be what it claims to be, and it could be a completely different compound. Dodgy sellers, they either don't include the retention time at all, or they include a value and hope that you don't check it up. You can look up the reference retention times for most peptides online, and I really recommend that you go and do that. Here is a part that sometimes people will also ignore, and that's the signature block at the bottom of your COA. A legitimate COA will have a named analyst who ran the test, a named reviewer or quality manager who approved it, the date it was conducted, and the full name and details of the testing laboratory. What you'll see in a lot of low quality supplier documents is either no signature at all, a generic stamp, or a date that, if you look carefully, is years old and doesn't even match the product that you've just received. And the last one is a huge red flag. If the COA dated on your certificate is 2022 and you've ordered in 2026, then the document has nothing to do with your product. So you are just looking at recycled paperwork. So what should you do? Well, there's three things. First, check the lab name, search it up. Does it exist? Does it have a website? Does it actually test peptides? There's labs like MZ Biolabs, Trust Point Analytics. They're legitimate, verifiable third-party testing facilities. If you can't find any trace of the lab online, then I would say walk away. Second, match the batch number on the COA to the batch number on your product, and they should be identical. If the seller doesn't provide you a COA, then that matches your specific batch, then that's a problem. Third, check the date. A COA should be recent. It should be specific to the batch that you have purchased, not a generic document, not reused from 18 months ago. So those are three things that you can do when looking at a COA. The research peptide industry has some really brilliant suppliers out there. They might be hard to find, they might be more expensive, but it's really worth it, because there's people who are betting on the fact that you as a buyer don't know what it is that you're looking at. Now you do, so what I recommend is check the purity percentage, look for something above 98%, check the retention time against the known references, check the lab is real and verifiable, and check the batch number and the date that they match what you've actually received. If a seller can't provide all of that, then they're not a seller worth buying from. If this was useful, give it a like, share it, and in the next video I'm going to be going through what good supplier credentials actually look like behind the COA and the questions that you should be asking before you place your first order.